So hi everybody, I'm going to give you a quick demo showing you what it looks like to have a DDP and a tape library and P5 driving it and doing a simple backup and a restore. So we're going to see all of that over the next 5 or 6 minutes. So here's the DDP. We have this test volume connected over here. Elvin mentioned that the connecting a volume via Ethernet is as simple as basically taking the volume, pointing it at the workstation, and then just waiting for the volume to pop up on the desktop. And there it is, there's our test volume. So we have some data on here that we're going to back up in a minute. So from here, we have a button directly in the DDP interface down here, which will take us to the P5 login. So Archiware has its own web interface, and whilst I just log in, so we're going to go. Unfortunately, I can't multitask, so I have to stop talking when I type. So this is what the P5 web UI looks like, and we're going to be concentrating on backup today. All I'm using here is the installed P5 with an additional license for some slots, because what we're doing here is we're driving a quantum, 8 slots, small, in this case LTO-5 tape library with 8 slots. This is already added, but to add a tape library to Archiware, you simply click on New Tape Library, say Next, and we automatically locate and list all of the tape hardware that's attached to the PC, to the Mac, to the Linux machine, to the DDP, and you just go through a couple of steps there to add the thing in. Once you've got a tape library added, what we do is we create a pool, and a pool is a target of tape storage that you can point your backup at. So you see we have a pool here called Tape Backup, has 1 tape inside of it, which is giving us 1.5 terabytes of capacity. Now within the pool, we can do clever things that Mark alluded to, like cloning. So we can say anything that we write to this pool, we want to have it cloned across 2 LTO tapes. Of course, this requires 2 drives, either both in the tape library or standalone drives. And then what we'll do is we'll put a tape in each drive, and we'll write data redundantly, so you always have 2 copies of it. So you can have a tape fail, and you don't lose any of your data because you have the other tape and you make a fresh copy of it, and so on. This is more used for archiving, not so much for backup. But with backup, what's really useful is using the tape drives if you have 2 or more in parallel. So by increasing the number of tape drives allocated to a data stream, you double and treble and quadruple the throughput. So if you take the speed of an LTO-6, if I just show you a little table of data about LTO that I just pulled out of Wikipedia, look at LTO-6, which is the current generation. It runs at 160, sorry, LTO-7 is the current generation, runs at 300 megabytes a second, right? So 300 megabytes a second, and then use 2 drives, and now you have 600 megabytes a second. So now you can back up some extremely fast SSD storage, maybe in your DDP, incredibly quickly. So petabytes of backup becomes possible as you use the parallelization options in here. So I'm just going to close that down. So I've already labeled a volume. So we have 1 tape volume and 3 disks. So these top 3 are disk volumes, and this one is a tape, which currently resides in slot 3 of the quantum tape library. So what we do if we want to do a backup is we go down here and we make a backup plan, which looks like this. So we have a backup plan called DDP Backup. And the backup plan at the top simply consists of a task. And in this case, the task is to back up this folder. And this folder is called Backup This. And it's located on the test volume over here. So I'll just show you where that is in the Finder. So in Sync Webinar, we have a folder called Backup This. And in there we have a movie. A good English piece of drama there, Downton Abbey, and we have some PNG files. So there's 4 things in that folder that we're going to back up. If we want to add other backup sources, we just click in here, and we get a very friendly file browser that lets me go pick up different folder to back up. So maybe we want to back up this folder as well. I'm just going to take that one back out there for now. Down at the bottom, I've got a filter. So with this, I could maybe write a little file filter to exclude certain file types. So we've got no PNGs, so that means that our backup should exclude these 3 PNGs and just back up the MPEG-4 file. So let's close that down. So at the top, you're basically setting up what you want to back up. This could be from several DDPs at the same time, maybe. And down at the bottom, we have incremental backup configured. So let's go look at that in a bit more detail. So the incremental backup runs every day at 22:30 hours, 10:30 in the evening. And it basically backs up to this tape backup pool that I showed you earlier that has the one tape in it. So we could label 50 tapes into our library if we had a big library, and that would give us 50 times 6 terabytes of storage on an LTO-7 tape. So the capacity within your pool is only limited by the number of tapes you buy, right? So you just buy tapes and you get more and more capacity. It's not like buying expensive disks. So the incremental backup's going to run every day. If we wanted to, we could say I'll do a full backup every month on the first Friday or whatever, but for the purposes of the demo, we're just going to run a simple incremental backup. In fact, no, let's change that and make it a full backup. So, saving that. So here's our backup plan. It's now ready to go. There's some additional stuff around the backup, like how long do we retain the data for before we start to recycle tapes, because you may want to just keep recycling tapes and reuse tapes so you don't have to keep buying more and more tapes, etc. So we have the concept of a job monitor in Archiware, and if we just flick to the job monitor window, what this is it shows me jobs which have run recently, which are the ones at the bottom. At the top it shows me jobs which are going to run, including our full backup that's going to run at 22:30 this evening. So if we start that one now, we will see some information on the screen about what's actually happening. So what happens is we figure that we are writing to our backup pool, which has the volume tape in slot 3 of the library. So the first thing that happens is that the tape gets transported from the slot to the drive. This is an LTO-5 drive. And when that's done, we will back up the movie file. Let's just watch that run for a minute. So any jobs which are completed, like the one that we ran this morning, go down to the bottom. And of course, you can double click in here and you can see exactly what happened, what files were saved, which tape they got written to, and so on. And of course, once the backup is complete, then you need some mechanism of being able to browse and search for what is already on the tapes and recover things. So if you have a disaster, maybe you're looking to recover the entire DDP storage back from a bunch of tapes, or maybe you just deleted a file or made a bad change and you need to recover a file from how it was a couple of days ago. So both of these things are possible with backup. So if we just flick over to the restore window over here, just to show you what this looks like, I'm just going to keep this window here visible so we can see when the tape gets into the drive and we can see it actually doing the backup. Under restore, we can elect to choose to restore from the backup. You can see here this copy of P5 has been backing up various different machines, but it's the local storage in the DDP that we're interested here. And then at this point, I could maybe do a search. So I could search for something containing down, and then I see some backups of that file. Just flicking back to the monitor, you can see now that the tape is being positioned to the end of data, which is where we need to be to add additional data to this tape. And now you can see that the file is being saved. It's about 1 gigabyte, and at 30 megaseconds, we're only talking about a few seconds worth of time to save that file to the tape. So that's almost done. So it's finished. So the next thing that happens is we just get some updating of our indexes on disk so that we can recover that file later. So back in the index here, you can see that this Downton Abbey movie was backed up on these 2 dates a few days ago. And so I could, at this point, I could say I want to restore this one. Or I could come out of search and I could just browse the file system. So here's the test volume on the DDP, here's the sync webinar folder, here's the folder that we backed up, and here's the file inside the folder. And what we can then do is if we wanted to maybe restore this back to the version of the file from a couple of days ago, in this menu here we can browse all of the snapshots that we created each time the backup ran. Or we can go in more detail and see a longer list and see the different pools and the volumes that the files were saved to. So maybe one wanted to recover the file as it was this morning or on the 8th of July. So If we chose to recover this one here, we simply say restore to, or maybe we're restoring several things, so we use the restore to selection. So this is basically creating a little basket where we can add several different files that maybe we want to restore at the same time. And then we click on restore to. Here we get to choose whether we restore back to the original location, or maybe we want to put it in a different place. So just to show you how quick this is, you'll also notice that the index didn't contain any of the PNG files because we filtered those out. Excuse me. So I'm just going to delete the file before we restore it, so you can actually see that the file does come back from the tape. So now the backup this folder has the PNGs, and I'm going to tell P5 to restore the file. First of all, it's going to tell me that the file is online in the library, Quantum. So we know which tape it needs, and we know that that tape is available right now. And then we just run the job, and the job comes back into the job monitor, sits there, and the process to restore will just be to put the tape in the drive, put the file on the disk, put the tape back in the slot, and we're done. So really, I've pretty much shown you everything that you need to do to set up sophisticated tape backup from P storage to tape, which is the best way to do a backup. And of course, tapes, because they're small cartridges, you can take them off site easily enough. Have an on-site backup and an off-site backup, rotate the tapes, and so on. So while that file is restoring, I'd like to see if anybody has any questions, because I think we're 5 minutes past our allotted slot that we said that we would take. So while that's going, let's just, Mark, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you, David. I'm not sure if all the participants are aware of, you have in the GoToWebinar panel, there's a questions section where you can type in questions and send it over to us. I think somebody sent some in here already. And one is, can P5 Backup save other data sources, business data, other than the DDP? Yes, of course, that's possible. So you can use it to have your whole company or the whole production or the whole department covered.
Let me just answer that as well by saying that within the backup you have clients. Each one of these clients, other than localhost, is a machine on the LAN. So Betty Boop is another Mac here, and we identify it by its IP address. We provide authentication, and once you've got the client added in, then you can add that client into your backup and start backing up data from your mail server, from your database server, from whatever else you want to back up from. Whilst I'm talking, actually, that file is just restoring now, so we should see the file appear in this window as it gets read back from tape at each second. Back to you, Mark.
Then there is one question coming in here. Can I choose to archive or backup media by type, for example, backup only MXF files?
Absolutely, yeah. So as part of my demo, I wrote a filter that did not back up these PNG files, just as an example of how that worked. So what that filter looks like is, if we go over here to the advanced bit and look in file filters, this is where my no PNGs filter sits, and you can see here it's configured where the file ends with PNG, and it's in the exclude box here. So if I were to adjust this slightly and add it to the top box, then what happens is we're only going to back up PNG files. So now the opposite happens. So therefore, if you do a backup of just MXF and write a filter that matches, then you'll get exactly what you just specified. Back to you, Mark.
Yeah. So that was one question. There is another one about can backup and archive use the same physical tape library? Yes, they can. So P5 Backup and P5 Archive, that will be shown in 2 weeks in the webinar, can share the same tape library. And additionally, you can have multiple backups, multiple backup plans, plus multiple archive plans. So you can have a very sophisticated setup that takes care of several data management policies. So where you want to have a specific server maybe just backed up once a week, or another one that has to be backed up twice a day, and they can all use the same physical tape library hardware and share cost in that way as well. And I think
Just
now we got the file back, so David wants to show that he actually restored the file.
Here's our period drama. Back again. Okay. Looks good. Okay, any more questions?
What tape library vendors is Archiware P5 compatible with? We are universally compatible, we can say. So we have customers using Quantum, Spectra, HP, Dell, Overland, Oracle, IBM, whatever kind of tape mechanisms and tape libraries. And we have our own generic tape driver that takes care of this universal compatibility. So you can use whatever library you either have or you plan on buying. You're completely independent of vendors. And the big advantage of LTO is that all the tapes that are written with one tape mechanism are fully compatible with another one. So you can switch your library from, let's say, HP to IBM or the other way around anytime you want.
Great.
So in case you have any more questions, it would be a good time to type it in right now in the questions panel. Otherwise, we already used up all our time, and you can contact us anytime if you have any questions or anything left open. Otherwise, we are happy to see you again next Monday and the following Monday. Next Monday will be about the replication P5 synchronize for replicating a DDP. And the week after that, it's going to be P5 archive, also with a short live demo. And this will give you a good impression of how to use P5 that's already pre-installed on the DDP. And so I can say thank you from my side for your time and for attending. And looking forward to hearing from you or seeing you again next Monday.